TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin broadcast from Jerusalem. Negotiations between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States failed to narrow far-reaching gaps. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps deploys its most advanced ballistic missiles in a desperate attempt to deter the far superior U.S. military. The United States and Saudi Navies conclude a joint exercise dubbed Indigo Defender 2026, drilling readiness, interoperability, and damage control. Negotiations between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran under mediation of the Sultanate of Oman were held earlier today in an American attempt to evaluate whether the Trump administration could achieve its strategic objectives by means of diplomacy. Speaking ahead of the negotiations, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt leveled a warning to the Ayatollah regime, reminding them that President Donald Trump had many options at his disposal to achieve Washington's demands.
The president has obviously been quite clear in his demands of the Iranian regime. Zero nuclear capability is something he's been very explicit about, and he wants to see if a deal can be struck. And while these negotiations are taking place, I would remind the Iranian regime that the president has many options at his disposal, aside from diplomacy, as the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the history of the world.
Omani Foreign Minister Saeed Badr al-Busaidi held separate consecutive meetings with the Iranian and U.S. delegations, making extensive efforts to establish a workable framework to restart the talks between the two adversaries. Nonetheless, sources familiar with the talks have voiced genuine pessimism over prospects for breakthrough, as the Ayatollah regime continues to refuse giving up its nuclear enrichment program that would curtail its so-called fuel cycle, which effectively hampers any possibility for the Islamic Republic of Iran to attain nuclear weapon capabilities. Moreover, Tehran remains defiant against demands to limit the range of its ballistic missiles program and support to its axis of terror proxies throughout the Middle East. With that being said, fearing the devastating consequences to the Ayatollah regime's prospects of survivability in the event of a full-scale American attack, the Islamic Republic is desperately attempting to dissuade the Trump administration from utilizing the significant military presence that unceasingly continues to grow in Iran's vicinity, a point President Donald Trump alluded to during yesterday's 74th National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C.
They're negotiating now. They don't want us to hit them. You know, we have a big fleet going over to Iran.
It is interesting to know that supporters of the Ayatollah regime continue to believe that prospects of war are close to none.
If war breaks out, our currency will weaken further against the dollar. For ordinary people, life will only get harder. That's why we oppose war. A successful negotiation would be the best outcome. War serves no one's interest. That's what I believe. The U.S. has moved its forces into the region, but I think the actual chance of war is only about 1%. I'm sure an agreement will be reached. They cannot afford a confrontation with Iran. They would face serious consequences too.
In contrast to remarks by ordinary Iranians who are subject to regime propaganda, U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent revealed that the leadership of the Islamic Republic in Iran is, quote, wiring money out of the country like crazy.
What we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March, I outlined the strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand culmination in December when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run on the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall, inflation exploded, and hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street. We will continue monitoring all the partners, all the Iranian partners. The good news, Senator, is that we have seen, and we can see it with our fencing, we have seen the Iranian leadership wiring money out of the country like crazy. So the rats are leaving the ship, and that is a good sign that they know the end may be near.
While the leadership of the Ayatollah regime is clearly preparing to flee the country in the event of a devastating attack by the United States military, which could loosen their tyrannical grip over Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps nonetheless has threatened to utilize its most advanced ballistic missiles, to include the Mashal 4, which carries a payload of 1.5 tons with a range of up to 2,000 kilometers or 1,240 miles. Meanwhile, in the Iraqi capital of Baghdad, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot called on the Islamic Republic of Iran to effectively accept defeat and succumb to American demands, while Iraqi Foreign Minister Fouad Hussein stressed the need to pursue a diplomatic solution to the conflict.
J'ai souligné la nécessité impérative que l'Iran se saisisse.
I stressed the imperative need for Iran to accept the American negotiation proposal, commit to major concessions on its nuclear program, ballistic missile arsenal, and regional destabilization activities, and end its repression of its people. We therefore support all diplomatic efforts aimed at finding a negotiated solution that respects our security interests and the most fundamental rights of the Iranian people.
Et respectueuse des droits les plus fondamentaux du peuple iranien.
Meanwhile, Russia is proactively trying to dissuade the United States and Israel from launching a decisive attack against the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, fearing yet another strategic defeat to Moscow's Mid-East policies.
Иран наш близкий партнер, сосед, нам не безразлично.
Iran is our close partner and neighbor. We are not indifferent to how the situation develops. Moreover, it is explosive not only in relation to Iran itself, but also in relation to the entire Near and Middle East. There are too many such explosive mines that are just waiting to be stepped on with a clumsy leg. And the Iranians, Israelis, and Americans know that we are again ready to offer our services in terms of contributing to the implementation of the agreement, when, I hope, when or if it will be achieved. It will in any case somehow touch upon the problem of Iran's enrichment, uranium reserves of enriched uranium. And we have the opportunity to offer our services here. The parties are aware of these services. And now the main thing is that they achieve agreements.
И сейчас главное, чтобы они достигли договоренности.
It is important to know that no agreements were reached during the talks in Oman. Nevertheless, the Ayatollah regime's top diplomat, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, insisted that the indirect negotiations served as a good start.
Overall, I can say that it was a good start, but its continuation depends on us holding 100% consultation with the so-called capitals and making a decision on how to proceed. This huge distrust that has arisen during this time has been added to previous distrust.
The Iranian top diplomat continued by stressing that the most difficult obstacle would be to overcome the prevailing atmosphere of distrust. Nevertheless, despite his inability to mitigate the abysmal gap between the two sides, Minister Araghchi sought to relay to comfort supporters of the regime, claiming that the two sides agreed to continue the talks.
There were some good discussions on this topic today, and the views of both sides were heard, and it was agreed that they would continue.
In contrast to the optimism which the Iranian top diplomat sought to inject into the public discourse of his own country in particular, Omani Foreign Minister Badr Abdul Saidi released a statement after the talks, noting that while the talks were very serious, he stopped short from assuming any breakthrough and stressed that they, quote, aim to reconvene in due course, with the results to be considered carefully in Tehran and Washington. Meanwhile, amid rising tensions with the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, or NAVCENT, announced that it had concluded a NAVCENT-led bilateral exercise with the Saudi Naval Forces, this time dubbed Indigo Defender of 2026. The joint naval exercise focused on enhancing the U.S. and Saudi naval readiness and interoperability. They drilled damage control, maritime engagement, and security teams of the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard took part in the exercise too. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to seize this opportunity to voice my gratitude if you are a supporter of TV7 Israel. Your donation is essential in helping us produce our daily news updates from here in Jerusalem. If you haven't yet supported TV7 Israel, please consider doing so. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. TV7 Israel is exclusively donation-based, and any support will go a long way. Separately, as ever, pray for our brothers and sisters facing persecution globally, including in Iran, Syria, Nigeria, among an extensive list of other nations, along with prayers also for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update. Shalom from Jerusalem.